Good morning. This is Gaming Perspectives with
Saul
and Jolene.
And today we're talking about getting your RPGs to the table.
I think we've done this topic before, but this specific one was requested by someone who says
A listener.
he has bought too many Kickstarters and hasn't got them to the table.
Yes, I guess we could have called this one getting your damn RPGs on the table. Because that's how sometimes people feel.
So what's the problem? Is it that you people have no impulse control?
You people?
You gaming guys that buy a ton of books and never play the game.
Well, what's funny is that a lot of board gamers suffer this problem as much as tabletop RPG players.
You do have a few board games that you've bought that I'm like, I don't think I really want to play that.
Yeah, I think it's for the same reason, right? We get excited about a game, whether we played it, seen it being played, or just like the box.
The idea.
Or the idea behind the game. Yes, there's that. For me, and as far as RPGs, there is that one element that makes me buy a game. Usually is because it's a game that I feel I would want to play.
Okay. Well, then you should be playing games 24/7 for the next 50 years. There's enough books in this house to
I'm trying before I die to play all my games that I've bought. And this is not only a concern for me, but one of my friends goes, I only have a few years left before I croak, and I want to make sure, I don't waste time with games that I don't want to play. And I go, so pessimistic, but also, kind of true, right? As you get older, you don't want to waste time, I guess. Sad but true.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So you
don't want to
bought
get too
all
macabre.
You people bought all these games, and now you're trying to get them out on a table.
Well, obviously, I'm not the only one that feels this way, because it's a situation that I've heard people lament about it online and videos and stuff like that. And I think you just have to go about it. It's like, what is it? Like selling a movie that you want to watch to your significant other. They'll probably playing a role-playing game is probably a little tougher.
Well, it depends on if they like to play role-playing games or not.
That's true. So the number one thing is you need to be a good salesman for that game that you're trying to get to the table. Whether it's a board game or RPG, right? You got to sell the game. Like, talk about why do you think it's good? Why do you think it'd be fun? And anything in between, all the elements you like about the game. If you were let's say at a game store behind the counter and somebody said, do you know this game? And you're like, yeah, that's a great game. They're like, why? It was, well, I like, they'll tell you what they like, and you're like, okay, you might like this game.
For RPGs, that's pretty, there's a lot of different things that you're not giving me any specific games, but there's a lot of...
Shadowrun.
Oh, that's easy.
So what's funny is that game came about why we even started playing Shadowrun was because of you.
I thought you had played it before.
Oh, yeah, I played a long time ago. I'm talking way back in the 1990s.
But the 5th edition 1990s. Was because of me, because I was at a
gamer flea market.
I was at a gamer flea market, I know. And I said, Saul, I really like this.
You came up to me.
I go, you've been talking about Shadowrun a lot, but I would like you to run it for me.
No, what happened? Well, I remember a little bit differently. You came to me with a couple books, and you go, "Have you ever heard of this game?" And I go, "Oh yeah, Shadowrun is fantastic." And then you're like, "Well, do you have the rule book?" I go, "Well, I think I wasn't sure what edition it was. Now that I remember, but I guess you had read the back of that book." And you're like, wow, and the whole setting enticed you. So I go, I think I have that edition, but let's see. I was like, that was literally 2018 or something like that when you brought that up.
Yeah.
Maybe. And it was think the last time I played it was like 1992, 90. So
that wasn't a hard one to get on the table either. All you had to do was give the book.
I actually had to buy it because I didn't have it.
I know, 5th edition. You had to buy 5th edition.
Yes.
And then all you had to do was tell the boys, I want to play this. And our friend Jason was like,
I don't think he played at the beginning.
I love Shadowrun.
I think he came later.
Did he?
Yes, because I remember we played it over New Year's Eve. Mm-hmm. And then...
I mean, as soon as he found out that we played it, he wanted to play.
Steve was shooting off that we were playing Shadowrun, and he goes, "Oh, I love Shadowrun," and
And he made these great copies of all the like cheat sheets and stuff for.
Yeah, he made all these cheat sheets.
So that game wasn't hard to get on the table.
I did. Yeah, it wasn't a hard sell.
You didn't even have it on your shelf.
I didn't even have it.
I mean,
well, I had the old
think you
version.
did have the old version because I remember reading it because I go, I've seen this game in the. I didn't say I like this game. I go, I've seen this game on the shelf, and I want to know if you'll run it because this looks pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's the selling part that you really have to become good at, and especially if it's a game that is sat on your shelves for a while, people going, "Oh yeah, I've heard of that game, but I don't know if I'm gonna like it."
I know one time we were at a gamer flea market and you bought all these, like a whole set of books for some. It was like a pirate game or something, wasn't it? Or some sea.
I bought
having to do with ships.
No.
Oh no, it wasn't ships.
I bought a game. Well, there's a couple of instances. I bought this whole complete set of Midnight, which is a setting for 3.5, 3.0, then later 3.5, about fantasy setting using 3.5 rules, D&D, about what if, like, let's say if Sauron had won and the world is covered in darkness and you and your heroes are trying to defeat. Or
was I with you when you bought that? Because I'm pretty
sure. It was
a
huge crate. Yes, you were with me. But the guy was, I think I got 10 books for $20.
And this is why you have stuff on the shelves.
Well, yeah, that is a pretty thick part of my shelf there.
So if you have games on your shelf and you really want people to play them, you got to bring them out and say, "Hey, do you like this genre? Do you want to play this? Well, I have this game. I'd like to play it.
Correct.
Would you like to read it?"
Right. That's what I mean by sell. And then sometimes, you have to become a very good spokesman for this game, right? Because you're like, I really want to get this to the table. That's one thing you do is plead with them. But another one is like tell them why this game is good and either talk about the system or you talk about the setting. And I think that will really help people get motivated to play.
Also, you're going to have people that want to play something different, right? Because if you're always playing D&D or you always only play Savage Worlds, you can pretty much play anything you want.
Genre, yeah.
But
you're right. I mean, some people are out there who only play D&D 5th edition or AD&D.
AD&D, yeah.
Yes, and if they don't want to change and they don't want to play
or they only play Call of Cthulhu.
Correct. Or horror games.
Right.
So you're right. Like if you have a group of people who only like drama, horror games, you're not going to get them interested in Pathfinder 2.
But if you have a group of, if you know more than one group of people.
That's true.
You can always add and subtract people that want to play or don't want to play. Also, it's always nice if you have a bunch of GMs that have different games that want to run them for people because you're more likely to get people to play in your game if you play in theirs.
Right. And again, you have to match the game to the people that you want to include, because if you know your group is not interested in space opera, whatever that entails, whatever that means to certain people, to me it means larger than life, like Star Wars is space opera, space fantasy, but space opera. And like there's this old Doc Smith wrote the Lensman series, and this is space opera, galactic wars and all that stuff. And people want to say, well, I don't like science fiction.
I can tell you right now that most recently someone said, you want to play Traveler? And my answer was no. My answer was actually, no, never, not again. I don't like my characters dying before I get to the table.
They kind of eliminated that, but
I'm just saying.
But I understand that you've been traumatized by that. Your character dying at before you even start playing that. It is kind of sucky. But actually, it's a very good system. You like Liminal, which is
yes, I do. I like the
2D6 system.
I do like the 2D6.
So Mongoose has changed it enough than of the original Little Black Books, that it now is a much easier or more playable game.
Which is what I was told the first time I played it.
No. First time we played Little Black Books original, very badly written, because it took like even to go. Well, how do I make?
I just remember we were in the middle of the game and Felipe left because we were playing online in totally different places. And Felipe got up and left, and someone said they wanted to do something, and Mike goes, "We'll have to ask Felipe about that rule," or somebody's, because Felipe is going to weigh in about that rule. And as soon as he sat down, someone said, "How does this work?" And he goes, "This is how it works." And he goes, "That's it. We decided that years ago." And I was like,
"That's hilarious." Yes, I remember that.
And I go, okay.
Well, another one was that the GM who was running it, hadn't really run a lot of games lately, so he was kind of unsure of himself, and he wasn't. He hadn't played in a long time, Traveler, and I think that's what led up to that rule. I forget what rule it was.
It was, I don't remember the rule, but I remember that I think
it had obviously come up.
It was
back
before,
in the old days.
yeah.
Yes, in a before time.
But the game that we played was good.
Yes,
it was very good because I liked the way that the GM put the person, one of the people, some of the NPCs. Sorry,
it's all right.
My mind is tired.
It's been a long day.
They were very compelling, and
yes.
You wanted to help them, and you wanted to hate them, and you wanted to like them.
Oh yeah.
And so it was a really good story,
right.
Even though you say he hadn't ran it for a while. But I do remember when I just thought it was hilarious because you guys have all obviously played with Felipe before.
Correct.
Traveler. And it was so funny because everybody fell right back into that pattern. Well, Felipe is going to tell you what the rule, how we interpreted that rule, and he did. And I don't remember what the rule was.
I wish,
but I was sitting back going, "This is funny." Because
it is funny. It was funny, and I don't remember what the rule was. But once Felipe came back and he said, "This is the way it's done. That's what we used to do it." Because obviously it was one of those like linchpin rules in the book where it's like, you could go either way, and they're like, no, we made a decision long ago. And in fact, somebody else looked it up, and it was like on rpggeek.net or whatever it is, and they go, oh yeah, that's the way Felipe said it. That's the way everybody says to play it. And again, this is a rule set that was written. It came out in 1977. So remember, we were reading the Little Black Books. And they weren't
Augustine
very well
and I
written.
were reading the Little Black Books, trying to make a character when you were asleep, and we're like,
we don't get it. And then I go, oh yeah, we used to make characters all the time. And I started reading. I go, man, I must have not read these books. I had it. Maybe I don't have the Little Black Books.
I'm pretty sure we do.
I think I sold it. I sold the one we had.
Oh,
damn it! I sold it on eBay. Anyway, doesn't matter.
So when it comes to genres and games that people want to play, and you said space opera, that's why that came up. Traveler came up because Traveler is one of those space opera games. I'm doing air quotes.
Yes,
you can't see it, but that to me, the ship part of it is kind of boring, going from quadrant to quadrant.
Yes,
I don't like that. And I came across this with Starfinder. Was it Starfinder?
Yes. No, it was the ship combat that really made you go snoring.
It was right when it came out, and I go, "Oh, this looks really cool, Saul." And it was Pathfinder, so it was Starfinder.
You were actually very excited.
I was very, very excited about it. And then we sat down in the. It was
kind of late.
What was it? It was
organized play.
It was. And so we sit down in there, and we start playing with this guy, and obviously he's been running this game for however long it's been
out. He was very
really
good.
Very good. And it was like 9:30 at night, and we'd been up all day, done a bunch of stuff, and we got to space combat, and Felipe's like, okay. And the guy gets out a graph paper.
Huge sheet of graph.
And I'm just like going, what am I doing? And
Felipe goes, you put your what is it? You log in where you want to go, and then on the third turn, you fire. I'm like, oh my God.
And Felipe goes, okay, I got this.
And then I'm like 10 minutes in, you're like.
I'm sitting at the table going, I'm not going to be able to stay awake.
Yeah, that kind of. So, yeah, obviously.
So if you want to get a game on the table, make sure that the people that you're playing with know what it involves, right?
Right. And that's a good salesman, right? That's what I'm talking about, selling the game. If you know your players are not into whatever, you're not going to, no matter how well Silver Tongue Devil you are, it's not going to hit the table with that group. So another thing is know the rules, right? It's a good idea to know the rules of the game, especially if it's a hard sell for people like, well, we don't like making characters. We don't like learning new rules. And if you could say, well, I know the rules, pretty good, right? And you can run the game very well, and you're well versed with the rules, and there's no hiccups, what I call, oh, let's stop the game and look at the rule book. And you're thumbing through rules.
That'll make people not want to play your new games.
Right. Even though, like, when we played Shadowrun, that happened quite a bit, and still happens quite a bit. But I think,
well, that has to do with the crunchiness of the system.
crunchiness of the rules, the way the rules are laid out. That would help if they were much better written.
I hear there's a French version that's better written.
Yes,
but it'd have to be retranslated back into English.
Yes, I don't know if there is or not a translated version of that. But anyway, well, we were kicking and screaming, brought to understand how the rules work, and actually works okay. I know a lot of people on the internets and Reddit, and they lambast fifth edition, and they lambast it for a good reason, right? The poor editing, the bad explanations and stuff like that, and the fact that there is a lot of systems in that game to run the game. But once you get them down pat, I think it's a really fun game. That's just all there is to it.
So that's one of those games where you should know the rules before you try to get people to play it.
Oh, like Pathfinder 2, and people are like used to something more simple. If you know the rules really well, then it doesn't seem to be so, what is it?
It doesn't seem like your brain will explode trying to figure out what dice you need to roll to make this happen.
As a player, it won't be such a chore to play the game. That's what I mean. And I think a lot of games these days are becoming lighter and lighter, but still a very good knowledge of the rules and how things work really does help you.
It also helps, like when you're talking about the rules, you're talking about the gaming system, right? So if you tell your players that it's a 2d6 system, and they know what that is, they've played Traveler or whatever, and then they go, oh, you go, Liminal, it's a 2d6 system. And then people are like, okay, what's the genre? And you tell them the genre, and if they're interested, they're like, oh, okay, I know how that works.
Right. And again, if you know the rules very well, then you can explain any questions they have, like when you're trying to sell that game. If you're saying, well, it's a 2d6 system, well, how does that work? Okay, this is how you do anything you try to do. You roll 2d6 and you add your modifiers, and you have to roll over an 8 or a 9 or whatever. And they're like, oh, okay. And if you know the system like that, whatever system it is, then that becomes like a lower barrier of entry.
Yeah.
So it's very important that you at least know the rules of the game that you're trying to get to the table. And number 3, have the right group. We kind of mentioned this on the selling of the game. If the whole table is just D&D players, and that's all they want to play for the time being or for the foreseeable future, maybe that group is not going to be the one that's you're going to convince to play a mech warrior game, or one with a big mechs walking around stomping on each other. Well, you rolled your eyes at that one.
I did. What I was thinking was, it depends on where you are. Like, if you're in where we are in San Jose, in California, you got 2 million people in your area to put out feelers to get people to play with you, right? Yeah. If you're in somewhere else, small town USA,
yes,
where you're 100 miles from the next town or something like that, or even 40, it might be harder to have a pool of people to pull from.
Right. I think that's a problem for a lot of people who live in small towns, is the limited amount of people they have to play with, and therefore forced, or they feel forced to play with the group that they have because there's literally nobody else to play. I don't know what the population lives in cities and stuff like that, compared to rural areas. But even small towns, like we were playing in Salinas, right? And me and my brother and my friends and my small circle of friends, we thought we were the only ones that played D&D because we didn't see anybody else, right? That was before the internet. Years later, my friend Mike says, "Oh yeah, that guy Larry used to play D&D." I go, "What?" And then later we ran into the Blakes and their family, and they brought in their friends and stuff. And years later, my brother had a club at the public library, and there was a guy from Santa Cruz who I now met, years later at the conventions, Matt, and all of a sudden he goes, "Oh yeah, I used to go there." I go, "Wow," and I didn't recognize him. I don't remember seeing him, but he goes, "Yeah, I was there," and he knew exactly who Felipe was, and he didn't know Felipe was the one who started it, but because there was no like, this game is or this club is started by Felipe Morales. It was just the Castle and Crusaders Club of Salinas, and it was at the Steinbeck Library, right?
Yeah.
Famous library in Salinas. But we really thought we were the only ones, and we obviously weren't, because there was a lot of kids coming in and playing.
Well, when I was a teenager and we were in small areas,
That's
I
true.
mean, we played with the pastor's son.
Yeah, you remember
and we
that.
played with when we went to Chico, my brother had some friends and we played in their basement
Yeah,
and they were like teenage boys, literally. And I was like, now I'm like, that's so stereotypical
a
of
little bit too stereotypical.
just, but it's funny because you don't know, but it was all D&D.
Right.
Well, no, because we played
Gamma
Top Secret
Top
and
Secret.
Gamma World and different things.
Yeah,
But that was experimenting
but
with
that
it, right?
was
that was
way,
before
that
the
was the
internet.
1900s.
That was in
Now
the
we have-
1980s.
Yeah, we haven't 1900s, I think, way back. That's the last century. But now we have the internet. We have you can play over the computer online.
a tabletop
You have
thing online, like
you have
Roll20 or something.
Roll20. You have all kinds of VTTs out there. Fantasy Grounds, Roll20.
And they have like things where you can say what game you want to play, and people will join it. And
Yeah,
stuff.
you could put your game up. Like, I want to run whatever. I have 5 slots.
and Discord too.
Discord, and it makes it, and then there's all kinds of
Other VT.
other ways of meeting up. In fact, there was a meetup. Meetup is I guess it's like a platform of some sort where people, usually for like clubs or they share interests. But one of them is gaming. I never went to a meetup. I have enough people I know who want to play games. What I just need is more time. I need to quit my job, but
that's not happening.
that's not happening. No time soon, Saul. Oh, disgruntled employee. But you're right. I think when you have the right group that isn't one is willing to try different new things, or is not dead set on only playing one game, then you're good. I think you have a better chance, obviously, of getting a game that you have on your shelf, and then you just have to talk it up. You have to know the rules, and then the convincing is a little bit easier. I mean, there's a bunch of games on my shelf. Some of them I'm like, well, I'm not interested in running it. Or once I got the game, I'm like, oh, I don't like the rules. So
I don't like the way it's written. Well, for those ones, what you need to do is sell them or give them away.
What?
Saul doesn't like that. Once it's on the shelf, he wants it to be there forever.
It's like a library.
Yeah.
I think I totaled how many shelves I have. It's like 19 shelves of RPG books. So our little house.
You can't see me. I'm just rolling my eyes at him.
Our little house is full of shelves. I mean, bookshelves. That I think the majority of it is RPGs. Although we do have a lot of books.
Yes.
We do have a lot of books, non-gaming books.
Yeah, but my historical books and
You
even
have
my
quite a
novels,
few.
the only shelf that kind of is my Terry Pratchett shelf.
And your what is it? Your Penguin Classics back there.
Yeah, those are things.
1, 2, 3. I don't have any gaming books on that bookshelf. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shelves.
So there's
They're
one
not
bookcase full of historical books. Yes.
So, what happens if your group is just not going to budge? Don't like it. Don't want to play it.
Try to find other people to play with. Don't upset your friends.
Fire your group.
You don't have to change your group. You just have to add another group.
Fire your group. I say, the hell with you. No, you're right. Find another group, more people. Expand your pool of players, and I'm sure you're gonna find some people that are willing to try out the kind of game that you want to get to the table. And this is really what is it? You really have to find people that are interested in certain games, right? Like real technical games like Shadowrun, Pathfinder 2nd Edition, the games that are really crunchy and they try to simulate a lot of things as far as combat and actions and stuff like that. I think certain people will not want to play those games. They'd rather play something a little bit more lighter with the rules, something like a Powered by the Apocalypse. Oh, I only want to roll 2 6-sided dice. Oh, I can understand that. You start bringing out the polyhedral dice and like, oh my God, what is that?
Well, then there's, dice pools, right? You got you just recently got Tales from the Loop out, which you do play quite often.
Yes.
But you have played it with people that hadn't played it before. Kathy, Augustine.
Oh yeah.
Sip had played it before, but I don't think Steve had played it.
Yes, he played it once,
and
but he didn't remember.
I played it quite a few times now.
Have you? Okay.
The system is pretty easy, right? You take there's just two, you have skills and you have attributes, right? Two of them go together to do whatever you're going to do.
You roll the dice. You roll that many dice of 6-sided. And if one 6-sided is a 6, then you succeed.
And the only thing I find most interesting about dice pool systems is you just got to get 1 6. And I have been literally watching people roll 12 dice and no 6s appear.
It happened this time. Yeah. Somebody rolled 16 dice and it didn't
people kept having to push their rolls to try to do it.
I remember this was a discussion on a Reddit article, and I thought it was funny because they posted, someone was talking about dice pools, and they said, what's the difference between a D6 dice pool and a D10 dice pool? So somebody put up the probability chart on there, and I go, I laugh at that chart. And then because I've seen people push an 8-die dice pool of 6-siders, and on 16 dice, they didn't get 1 6. And the probability for rolling a 6 on 8 dice twice pushed was like 92%, which
is amazing because I've been in games where that's all you have to do is get 1 6 or 1 6 and 1 5 or something.
It's really funny because I've actually seen that happen almost in every game that I've ran. I remember Babe did it.
Yep.
I remember when I ran it at the con with all the kids and their dads. They rolled it and they missed, and they're like, "Oh my God, what happened?" I go, "Well, you take a condition, and then the conditions are super easy, right? You get 4 conditions or 5 conditions. I think it's 4 or 5, and then all it is that for every condition you subtract the die from your dice pool.
But I found it interesting because I don't think I think I'd taken 1 condition, but you have to go somewhere like to your adult or your safe place. And then your condition goes away after a while, or you sleep through the night, right? In your bed or whatever, and it goes away. I know that Steve got a condition, and then he got 2 conditions, and he was like, I'm not going to be able to do anything. And I'm like, it's okay, Steve. You can get rid of the condition. You just have to go and rest.
Correct.
And it like freaked him out.
Yeah, because 2 more conditions would have broken him.
Right.
And then you can't do anything. You can't roll dice anymore.
So dice pools are an interesting dynamic, right? So if you're going to play those kind of games, you're going to want people that like dice pools, right?
Right. Some people absolutely hate dice pools, though. I was thoroughly shocked because I came across dice pools when Serenity has dice. I think it has dice pools. Yes.
Shadowrun is where there's the big dice pools, right?
Oh, huge dice pools.
And the boys just love it. Those bricks of dice, and I get to roll 30 dice.
Yes, that's amazing.
And it's like
counting the 5s and 6s. Yes. 5s and 6s at least.
Most people like rolling dice, whether you're playing board games or role-playing games, right?
So I can see why dice pools are very attractive to people who like rolling dice, and it attracts me. And another one is a D10 dice pool that somebody was talking about, and I thought that would be interesting, but I don't know. I guess I could look it up, the probability chart, but like I said, don't tell me the odds because I've seen them, and those odds aren't real. They're not real, people. And what's funny was I mentioned that in that Reddit article, and I posted that, right? I laugh at people who show me, right? He goes, put the probabilities right there. I go, yeah, okay. I still laugh at it.
I watched it at my table.
Yes, the laws of probability are what they are, but it seems unnatural that you could do that so many times and not succeed. Like, for example, there's a game, there's a couple games on my shelf, but I will point to one that I'm pretty much sure that my current group, a couple of my groups will not want to play. That's the new Free League Twilight 2000 game because it's a post-apocalyptic and it's sort of crunchy for a dice pool system, but it's also like you're counting bullets. You got to keep track of your food, and you're tracking where you're going. It's kind of like a, what is that? Not a Western Marches, but open world where you're exploring the hexes, trying to find your way out and trying to figure out if there's anything dangerous there.
Some people like tracking their stuff, and other people don't. So,
And there's some ways that it makes it easier or not easy. Like if I remember in D&D, AD&D, we used to have 20 arrows, and Felipe made us like, okay, use an arrow, write it down, and we had all these hash marks on the paper of how many arrows we've shot, and then how many we recovered, and all that, which we couldn't if you played long enough in the wild or outside of town.
You run out of arrows.
You run out of arrows. So okay, well, forget that. What about my bolts? Bolts for my crossbow. You don't have any of those either. So again, like I was saying, there's certain games that I'm like, with the current group that I have, I'm pretty sure nobody's.
That's a pretty hard one because it's a post-apocalyptic. You are in somewhere with a plane and you got to get fuel, and you got to count your bullets and your water. You got to figure out what you're doing.
Yes. No, I understand why it's so difficult, and it definitely is a genre that a lot of people don't. It's or not. It's not going to appeal to everybody. It's a military simulationist game, and some people are not into that. So I understand that, and like for some people don't want to play evil games. That's like me. I don't want to play a bunch of scoundrels or evil people doing bad things. So it's just a game that doesn't appeal to me. So if anything, any game out there is like that, I probably wouldn't want to play that kind of game. So again, you would have to change the group, or you find a different group that's more in line with the game that you're trying to get on the table. Like I could probably put Twilight 2000 up on Roll20, and I can find 3 to 4 or 5 people that were willing to play. Another game like that, I think, is like, I just had it on the tip of my tongue.
What did you were playing on Roll20 with some people that it's like a totally different world.
Different world? That a TV sitcom from the 90s? A spinoff of the Cosby Show? What? I don't remember. I played Conan Online. I played a bunch of different games.
It was the one.
Oh yes, yeah, right. We played. What is it? Warhammer, Fantasy Warhammer. It was good.
It was a different one.
Well, that was it. I think that's the only one. Anyway, there's a couple games that were a little bit brutal, and I'm like, I like to play slightly more heroic games, so I can understand that's. I wouldn't mind playing a game, low level game where your character isn't super heroic or even heroic, but it's just a regular guy. But I like my characters to like make a difference. That's just the way it is. So find a group that is more in line with the kind of game that you're trying to get to the table. So that's it.
Any other tips?
Nah, can't think of any off the top of my head. I think it could be a little bit of work. It could be depending on the game that you're trying to get to the table. Some games are really vague, or people don't know about them very well. Or it's just like I said, you got to find that group of people who are really interested in that genre.
My only advice is when you're looking at all those Kickstarters and you're at the flea market looking at the games, maybe think, am I going to be able to play this?
Or you buy it and then give it to somebody. Say, you know what, I'm going to give this, but you have to run at least once for me.
And Saul's done that.
It hasn't worked very well. At least,
so good luck with that, getting those games off the shelf and
yes,
having them hit the table.
I feel your pain. That's what I could say.
So there you go. This is Gaming Perspectives with
Saul
and Jolene.
And you have a great day.